leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. To this capital city, historically known for short track oval dirt racing, comes road racing through the streets of downtown Des Moines for the first time in history. Now, the weather was 90 degrees already early this morning and continues to rise. The skies are hazy, and the Weather Bureau says, hey, there's a chance of rain, but don't expect it. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Larry Nuber, and we are here for the centerpiece of SCCA road racing, Trans Am. This city has opened its arms to the racing community, and it has been a very pleasant and welcoming weekend. And the manufacturers are looking at this race with a great deal of significance. They have, for instance, hired Bill Elliott to come in and drive the 25th anniversary Ford Mustang. They want to win this race so much. Let me bring in my broadcasting partner for today, Willie T. Ribbs. And Willie, we are on a street circuit, and of course that means it's temporary. Your impressions?
It's going to be tough on cars, Larry. It's going to be tough on drivers. It's going to be tough. 69 laps around here is like racing in a Calcutta sauna. But these drivers are like lunch meat, ready. So let's get it on.
Well, Willie, also we have this oppressive heat situation that could well be a factor before this race ends, the temporary track with the heat. Our broadcasting colleague down on pit road today will be Chris Economaki, and he is standing by to update us with the story of the front row.
Thank you, Larry. The fans in Des Moines are going to see a battle between the Ford Motor Company and General Motors. The front row starters, Paul Gentilozzi in an Oldsmobile, representing General Motors. Outside front row, Dorsey Schroeder in a Mustang, representing the Ford Motor Company. Tremendous pressure, gentlemen, reacting for Detroit. Are there any on-track do's and don'ts because of your motorsports involvement?
Until the green flag starts, there definitely is a protocol. But once the race starts, our objective is to lead every lap and win the race. It doesn't matter whether we're racing Chevrolets or Fords or Porsches. We just need to win the race.
How do you feel about it, Dorsey?
I agree with Paul. You know, Ford wants to win this race. General Motors wants to win this race. I'm the lead Ford driver, and they paid me to do a job. My job is to come out here and win this race.
Okay, you're looking at two men who say they're going to win. Larry Nuber?
We'll be back with Speed World's coverage of the Ruan Greater Des Moines Grand Prix, featuring the Trans Am cars of the Sports Car Club of America. Today's race is being brought to you by the Principal Financial Group, financial products that give you an edge. And by Crocker St Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. And by Ruan Transportation Management Systems, improving quality through knowledge. Back with the start of today's race to the streets of downtown Des Moines after this. If Des Moines was once provincial and nothing more than a city in the middle of the prairie, all of that changes this weekend with this race. Active driver Lyn St. James will start today's race in 10th position, and she is about to take you on a lap around this 1.8-mile course that snakes through the streets of downtown Des Moines.
It's a map of the street track of Des Moines, Iowa. 12 turns, all of them right-angle turns, so you've got to really pay attention here. We're now cresting the start-finish line, little hill, hard on the brakes, down to second gear. We've got a little straightaway here where we're going up from second, third, fourth gear. You noticed on the left we had pit lane exits, so we've got to really keep an eye on the cars coming out of the pits. Back down into second gear. We're going to now have a series of turns. We'll stay in second gear, which is good. We don't have to do a lot of shifting here, but you've got to really be careful because you can see how on the left-hand side of the track falls away, so you've got to really stay in tight, hold the car tight so that you don't end up into the wall. Back down, still in second gear, hard on the brakes. Second, up to third, we get a little bit of speed here. Back down into second gear, a hard left-hand turn, back up to third gear, and we're now coming into turn 7, which is a turn you'll see some passing in because you're now approaching the Locust Boulevard straightaway, a real long straight, but it's all asphalt. This is where the track was breaking up, and we had a hard time being able to get traction. But it's a straightaway. We get all the way up to 5th gear. As we go over the Des Moines River, we've got to go over this little bridge, hard on the brakes, down into second gear again. Now here it's important because we've got to set up for this second left-hand turn leading onto the straightaway. But here, even though we've got a little bit of asphalt over the Des Moines River area, we're onto the concrete under braking. This is the widest turn on the track, so you will see see some passing here because this is leading on to the longest straightaway. Second, third, fourth, fifth gear, but you've got to watch those bumps, so you really got to try to find the spot that's the smoothest. It's uphill, so it'll help you slow the car down, but it's hard on the brakes and into the most important turn, I think, because it leads on to the start-finish straight, and that's where the checker flag's going to fall. This is not the streets of San Francisco, even though we're going uphill a lot, but we're now finished with a lap around Des Moines. 21 shifts per lap.
The staging area is on the straightaway in front of the pits, and the cars await there now. 31 cars will start this race, and the unusual aspect of today's SCCA Trans Am race is a pit stop will be included. Here is the starting grid. Qualifying on the pole in his Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme is Lansing, Michigan's Paul Gentilozzi. Dorsey Schroeder flanks him. In the second row, the Beretta twins of Max Jones and Tommy Kendall, both out of the state of California. In row number 3, on the inside is Chris Neifel. He almost won Detroit. Robert Lapalainen holds up the flag for Ford on the outside. Neifel is in a Camaro. In the fourth row, Irv Hare, the Oldsmobile that has been quickest in 1989, and Bob Sobey. He finished second in a race about a month and a half ago. In the fifth row, side by side, New England's Scott Sharp and Florida's Lyn St. James. In row number 6, a couple of veterans of this type of racing, sedan racing in the States, Dick Danielson from Wisconsin and Les Lindley in a Camaro from California. Here are the remaining starters. Mike Shasuli in car number 16 and Tony Broso from Australia occupy row number 7. In the 8th row, the beer distributor from the St. Louis, Missouri area, Jerry Clinton, and a long-time Trans Am veteran, Jim Durhog. He has started more Trans Am races than any other driver in history. In the 9th row, that is the 17th and 18th position from California, the rookie in Trans Am racing, 19-year-old Kenny Hendrick doing a great job, and Rick Dittman, the veteran. In the 10th row, Morris Clement and Breck Kaufman, cars numbered 95 and 73. In row number 11, another long-time Trans Am campaigner, Mark Peelsticker and Wayne Akers. He's had a great month in Trans Am racing. In the 12th row of cars numbered 08 and 54, Len Moore and Richard Valentine. In the 13th row, Bob Zeeb in car number 65. In the green and gray Corvette, Bruce Nesbitt, car number 50. Harold Janke starts on the inside of the 14th row in number 31. And Bill Elliott, yes, the same one, from Dawsonville, Georgia, gets a promoter's option and starts in 28th position. We'll see how he moves up to the field. Continue on to the promoter's options. Frank Herchick in car number 49. Noah Lacana in car 66. And Ed Hinchcliffe in car number 29. Willie, a pit stop, that's a factor in this race. And also Bill Elliott starting all the way back there in 28. Your thoughts on those two factors?
Well, you know, this is going to be a long race on a track like this, you know, and tires and brakes. This track is really, really tight. A lot of 90-degree corners, and it's going to be really hard on the brakes. And, you know, coming off the corners, you're going to be accelerating hard. So, you know, you're going to be hard on the rear tires. Awesome from Dawson is in town.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great to see him try to come up.
In that white, pink, and baby blue trim number 07 Mustang is Lyn St. James, and she will be carrying one of our in-car cameras as the cars do the characteristic snake back and forth to heat up the tires.
You know, that's a great shot of Lyn in the car. They're warming up the tires. You know, when she gets around, by the time the green flag drops, she'll be ready to go with a nice set of warm.
Both the face cam and camera looking out the front, Willie.
You know, that shot is of Scott Sharp, I believe, in front of her, and he's doing the same thing. But I'll tell you, after 10 laps, the tires will be good and hot here.
Okay, now, you're looking at Bob Sobey, the young racer from Phoenix, Arizona, and you're looking out the back window. Make that off the back trunk lid of Irv Hare. This has been the speediest Trans Am driver in the past couple of seasons. Now, also, you can look out the front of Irv Hare's car. There is Robert Lapalainen right up ahead, the young driver from Finland.
From Finland, yeah, but you look at Irv. Irv is Mr. Steady in Trans Am. You know, he never tries to get on the pole. He always goes into every race setting his car up to race. The race is on his mind right now.
And starting back in 28th position, of course, is the man we were referring to a little earlier, Bill Elliott. You can see the drivers, really a beautiful shot, all kinds of colors flashed on your screen, the cars going back and forth, and you won't see them moving this slow all day long. That's a fascinating picture.
Well, it's nice. You know, they got a lot of room. You can see how wide the track is, Larry, there, and it's really good. You know, Des Moines has really put on a great circuit here, because a lot of street tracks are pretty narrow, and that's a great shot of Bill. And I'll tell you, this is his first Trans Am race, and it's good to see him here and get some more road racing experience, because NASCAR is getting hot.
The pace car pulls off the track as the field motors by, and I'm not exactly certain if they anticipated getting a green flag or not, but the green flag did definitely not flutter that time by. This lap, we are told, does count, but the field is not under green yet. Going back to the Elliott story, and Willie, you have a look of amazement on your eyes. You were kind of confused too.
Well, I saw Gentilozzi get hard on it, and I saw Schroeder off of it, so I was wondering if somebody saw the flag or somebody didn't see it.
You're looking at this 1.8-mile circuit, 12 turns from the top of the Ruan Sky Tower here in downtown Des Moines. Picking back up with that Elliott story, the reason why he is starting in 28th position is because he arrived here this weekend too late to qualify. He just showed up, was able to show up on Sunday morning, and Willie, he had only a couple laps in the car plus a couple laps at moderate speed, and he did record the 15th fastest speed of the Trans Am weekend.
Well, you know, Elliott, to come here on race day and just do a half-hour practice, you got to say a lot for Bill, because you know he's a NASCAR champ. I think he won Michigan just recently, and you know, there's a lot at stake. But one thing what Bill wants to get out of this race more than anything is road race experience. You know, Rusty Wallace is real tough in the stock cars on a road race track, and I think this is a little bit more road race experience for Elliott, and it's needed.
Field is coming up across the stripe for the official green flag. The green flag waves, and Paul Gentilozzi gets a big jump in his Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Slipping in on the inside is Chris Neifel, who started in 5th position. Chris Neifel has jumped to 2nd.
Oh, Neifel got a super start going up the straightaway into the green flag. And Neifel said at the beginning of the show, he's ready. He came here to race. You know, he's a ringer. He's not running all the races this year. So he's go, blow, or punch a hole in the fence.
Okay, the number 02 there is Max Jones, one of 2 Neifel teammates. Actually, the lead car is probably Tommy Kendall. He appears to be the one on that team who has the best chance at the championship. And there is Neifel taking a look to the outside of Gentilozzi, nothing doing. Dorsey Schroeder, who has been leading the points for most of the season. Motors in 3rd position right now, and Neifel looks like a man in a hurry looking for a place to go, Willie.
Neifel is really putting the pressure on Gentilozzi. In fact, you can see Gentilozzi running a real protective line. He's protecting every bit of real estate he can at the moment, but Chris is all over him like a cheap suit.
Now, what you don't really know is Neifel running that much quicker, or is he just trying to worry Gentilozzi? But no, Neifel's definitely faster. He goes to the inside of this left-hander at turn number 7, and Chris Neifel takes the early lead.
Oh, Chris is smoking right now. He's really running hard. You know, to run that hard in the corner is hard on the brakes.
Willie, it's hard on brakes. It's a very hot day. I know he's not going for points, but he wants to win this race. Is he overextending himself?
Well, you know, you can do that for a lap, 2 laps, 3 laps. You can't do that too long on a track like this. So, you know, Chris might be working this strategically, where he's going to get in the lead, try to pull out a little lead, and then cool off.
Coming down to complete lap number 1, and Chris Neifel, the man from the Chicago, Illinois area, leads it. He goes into the first left-hander. That's turn number 1, a 2nd-degree corner. They head on one of the 5 small straightaways here on this course. They'll be going up toward turn number 2, another left-hander, back down to 2nd gear, and now through a little box. It's similar to a section of the racetrack in downtown Detroit that goes underneath one of the parking lots. It's 3, make that 4 right-hand corners, each of which is only about 1/10 of a mile further along the course from the previous. Then when they get out on the straightaway, it's another very small straightaway. They're quickly up to 3rd gear, then back down to 2nd gear to a left-hander onto what is known as Grand Avenue, as Gentilozzi continues to run in 2nd place. Then they'll make another right-hander, and they're headed up toward Locust Street. And after this corner comes the 2nd of the 5 straightaways on this downtown course.
You know, Larry, you can see Schroeder. Dorsey's really putting the heat on Gentilozzi. Gentilozzi, too. Schroeder said he was going to play a conservative race, but he doesn't want Knightville to get too far away.
We're checking on the progress of Bill Elliott. That is he in that white number 25 with the red and blue trim, trying to charge to the front. He has just gotten around Richard Valentine, a Trans Am regular, and Elliott is in the number 25 car, which signifies the 25th anniversary of the Ford Mustang. The number 66 of Danny May has pulled into the pits. Danny started in the back of this field. He's from Berkeley, California. He's only an occasional racer in Trans Am, but he is the first one to pull into the pits. Everybody will have to make at least one pit stop today.
That's right, and that's going to keep things reasonably close. But then it'll give a chance for the drivers. They got to take on 5 gallons, but then Knightville could run pretty hard and then change tires if he gets away far enough. So it's going to be real interesting how they're going to work this this mandatory pit stop.
Gentilozzi, Schroeder. Here's Bob Sobey from Phoenix, Arizona. That is Max Jones in the car number 02. He's already had some contact with the concrete. His teammate, Tommy Kendall, is right behind him. Then that white car there in the center of your picture is Herb Hare. Then comes Robert Lapalainen, and Sobey goes off. Bob Sobey drives off course, and I was not watching to see exactly where that was, but I think it was about at turn 2, Willie, that Bob Sobey drops out of 4th place.
Larry, it looked like something broke on Sobey's car. It might have been a half shaft with all the on and off, all these 90-degree corners. Half shafts might break here pretty easy.
As we told you, Sobey did finish in a race earlier this year. It was a race in which he actually was involved in a crash on lap number 1 as we go inside of Herb Hare trying to move up, and Sobey was named the driver of the race in that particular endurance contest. There's Herb Hare. He is currently running in 7th. He has just moved underneath the 6th place competitor, and Herb Hare, having gotten around Max Jones, make that Tommy Kendall run 6th. There's Kendall right behind Herb. This is looking out the back bumper of Herb Hare, the man who has won 2 Trans Am races so far in 1989.
This is how Herb likes to run a race. I mean, he doesn't want to get into a rush right at the beginning. He knows how long and how hard this race is going to be. So he's just going to strategically pick him off, take it easy, maybe wait for a caution, and move his way up slowly.
Kneifel continues to lead. He was able to get the lead in the first lap of this race, which will go 1 hour and 55 minutes. If we complete 69 laps before that time, the race will be flagged official. But there is a time limit on today's race of 1 hour and 55 minutes, and once again, a pit stop is required. Now, Kneifel shows as having led 13 laps in Trans Am competition this year, but it was at Detroit where he was very fast.
Yeah, he was real strong at Detroit, and he would have won that race if it wasn't for engine failure at the end.
There is the top 5 here at Des Moines, Iowa. Chris Kneifel, Paul Gentilozzi, Dorsey Schroeder, the points leader, Max Jones, and Herb Hare. We'll be back with the rest of today's Trans Am race after this. People on the coast will say, hey, you're not professional racing until you've had kart or NASCAR or one of the country's 2 top road racing circuits, IMSA or SCCA. Well, both worlds have come together here this weekend in Des Moines, Iowa, as SCCA graces the streets of downtown Des Moines. There is Richard Valentine, the Pennzoil sponsored number 54, one of the regulars on the Trans Am Trail. He has come in with a premature pit stop. We certainly anticipated no one coming in. I just saw the pit man with Bob Sobey's sign up. I don't know if Bob was able to collect back up, get back out on course, and come around to the pits.
Attrition could be a big factor in this race, Larry. The cars here, they're going to take tremendous punishment.
Well, Chris Economaki is standing by Richard Valentine's car. Chris?
Larry, both these cars, they're nose to tail in the pits. R.J. Valentine and Bob Sobey have a flat right front tire and a dented right front wheel. Somewhere on the circuit, these guys are hitting something that's taken out the right front corner. Back to you.
Chris, there are several cars that have a fender curled here or there, and we also had at least one report that our leader, Chris Kneifel, may have something rubbing on his right rear, so we'll certainly be staying up to date on that. There's Bob Sobey. You saw him dart off the course. He obviously has gathered a backup, going all the way around, and he's come in for a pit stop. He won't win today, but at least he's back in competition.
Kneifel is running strong. Whatever's rubbing back there hasn't slowed him up. All 3 drivers have settled into a nice rhythm, a nice pace. This is the kind of race you want to run on a on a track like this for this amount of time. You don't want to get braking too hard. You don't want to pound on the gas too hard coming off the corner. You just want to be smooth. Roll it on, roll it off, and don't, you know, overdo it. And if you can run this kind of pace, you'll be strong towards the end.
Willie, that's an excellent point. We're watching Herb here at the very top of the speed. He's looking to move into fourth position. He's trying to find the key to unlock the combination of getting around Max Jones and not this lap. You make an excellent point. Neifel took the lead. He obviously is in a faster car, but once he got the lead, he's not trying to bury the rest of the field. He's setting that pace you talked about.
That's right. He knew that he could only get away with running his brakes hard, passing people for only a lap or two before they start to get soft. So what Chris did is he took it early. He went in early and got in the lead, and now he's going to watch his mirrors and see how these other guys are going to run.
You're looking at Lyn St. James. Lyn runs this race in 9th position currently. She's just behind Scott Sharp, who has had another one of these solid races. We are inside now of Lyn St. James' car, and she is directly in front of Les Lindley in car number 48. But again, that's Scott Sharp and the red, white, and blue number 33 out of the Bob Sharp, Paul Newman Racing Stables, another New England team.
You know, young Scotty is getting stronger and stronger every race. You know, he's one of the youngest. He is the youngest driver in the race, and the kid is really, really coming on. He's getting smoother and faster every race, and he's really getting impressive.
Scott Sharp started the race today in 9th position, so he has basically held his own against some pretty spirited and powerful competition. Scott is just 20 years of age. He is not only a rookie in Trans Am racing, Willie, but he's a rookie in professional competition in SCCA.
You know, if you notice an in-car shot, Lyn St. James called a little lurch. If you could watch the windscreen, you could see it roll over when she applied the power. That you can see how hard the torque is going on in the rear wheel by the way it's twisting the car.
A lot of power in Trans Am cars. Many people around the country have overlooked this series to a degree in recent years. These cars have experienced the technological leaps and bounds that all the other divisions of racing have, and these cars are extremely powerful, and it's a touch. You really can't ride roughshod on them.
No, well, you're looking at a minimum of 600 horsepower, and even in the V6s, they're running 550. So, you know, you got to really, with that kind of power, with a weight of 23 to 2,500 pounds, you know, you got to be easy on the car, because it'll beat it up after a while.
The pole qualifying speed of Gentilozzi was 69.7 miles per hour, and I know that pales in comparison to 200 miles an hour at Talladega. However, this is a street course, and you have to back down to 45 and 50 degrees, 50 miles per hour at some of these 90-degree corners. And the average speed in the race has just been moved up by Neifel from 65 to 66 miles per hour. So he has found that pace. It's obviously not as quick as qualifying, but he has found where he wants to run, and he's running there right now.
Well, you're not going to see any earth-shattering speeds around here in Des Moines. You know, 12 of the corners are 90-degree corners. One I hear is even 120 degrees, so it's mostly second gear corners, some first gear.
The leaders are already beginning to work their way through slower traffic. This is Herb here, right there. He has moved into fourth. The number 29 car is being lapped. That's Ed Hinchcliffe from Ypsilanti, Michigan, in the Hinchcliffe Racing Mustang. There's Robert Lapalanian, and he gets bumped from behind by Scott Sharp. Apparently, Lapalanian, something has gone wrong with the car. There he's steering off course. He's going into the pit area, so he lost power coming out of turn number 12. The ideal place to lose it. You got to lose it.
Absolutely. He couldn't, you know, if he's got a problem that can be fixed, it happened at the right place.
Chris,
he spit a 5-foot flame out of his car.
Chris, can you find out what's going on down there?
Well, I'm looking at him. He's going out. It was just it was a conversation and no work done, so it probably was an outside inspection that he passed.
Well, Chris, he got booted in the back, but it was a very solid hit from Scott Sharp, and I really don't see any damage in the back of Lapalanian's car. We'll check the damage to the front of Scott Sharp's car. There's Lyn St. James in the background, Willie.
Oh, that's not a bad tap. I mean, that's a nice Rusty Wallace kiss.
And that that big belch of flame that you were referring to comes out of the exhaust headers of Lapalainen's car. He gets back out on the course right in front of Kenny Hendrick from California, and Lapalainen has remained on the same lap, but he's lost significant track ground.
You know, I'm really wondering why that flame, he looked like a dragon out the side of his car. You know, that looked 5 to 6 feet. Why, I can't tell you, unless, you know, when he got off the gas, you know, he dumped some fuel in there.
It's usually unspent fuel that somehow works its way into the exhaust system, and just really no reason at this point that we can even conjecture on as to why Lapalainen slowed suddenly. He obviously is running at a pretty good clip of speed, because there is 19-year-old Kenny Hendrick running right behind him, and Kenny, he qualified in the 17th position in the Hendrick Construction Tornado this week, and he consistently runs in the top 15, so Kenny is not a back marker, and Lapalainen is able to stay ahead of him.
That's true, and, you know, all credit to Kenny. I mean, you know, he's not a factory team. You know, you look at the Chevrolet in front, you look at Neifel, the Berettas, Schroeder, Gentilozzi. Those guys are the factory big dogs.
Harold Janke in that maroon and black number 31, and a Buick Skylark has just been put one lap down by your leader, Chris Neifel. Bill Elliott, incidentally, has moved up to 13th position and continues his climb toward the front. Is coming to the pits. Strategy or something planned? What's your call on this, Chris?
Guy, stop. You got to come to me now and not finish what you say.
You know, Larry, I'll tell you, it's too early for Herb to be in. I don't know why he's taken on, you know, gas. He didn't look like it was a tire stop, and you know, it's unusual. I think that he would have went a little bit farther before he went in the pits.
What do you think, though, Willie? Do you figure it probably was planned?
Well, you know, I don't know. He didn't tell me. I talked to Herb earlier, and he didn't mention...
This is Les Lindley. Let's interrupt this question and go to Les Lindley, the man from Anaheim, California, who is a consistent top 5 runner. Now watch the bright yellow number 48, Les Lindley. He comes out of that corner. He comes into contact with Richard Valentine. Actually, it was not his fault. It was Valentine who actually got out of shape and spun in front of Les, and Les was looking for a place to hide, and there was no shelter.
No, there was no room for Les to go anywhere. Valentine started to lose a little bit, and I think Les tried to go up underneath him, but everything's happened so fast in a situation like that, there was nothing Les could do.
A real tough break for Les Lindley. This is one of the people that figured to be in contention for the points championship this year. He has never won one of these races in his career, but he's been very close. His best finish in 1989 was a 4th place a year ago. Here is Chris Neifel running in just his 2nd Trans Am race of 1989. He almost won the first one, and he certainly looks like he's very serious about setting his sights on this one.
Larry, Chris and I have been teammates before, and Chris is a real strong competitor. You know, the man is a big man. He's nearly 6'6". He can slam dunk a basketball. He's good friends with Michael Jordan, and now he's out in front of the ring. In fact, they had to build that cockpit especially for Chris because his legs were into the tachometer.
And as we pointed out in Detroit, look at the rear spoiler. You'll recognize, if you are a sports fan, a very familiar message. Hail to the champs of the professional basketball ranks for 1989, the Detroit Pistons. Rick Dittman in that blue number 24 is the next car to go one lap down. Dittman qualified in 18th, so I'm a bit surprised to see him be lapped this relatively early in the race. He's in the Velcro Firebird, and Dittman in years past has run most of the Trans Am races. There he is on the right-hand side of your screen as Paul Gentilozzi in the Budweiser Oldsmobile goes to the inside of Dittman on that right-hander, and there is Dorsey Schroeder following through. I figure that Gentilozzi and Schroeder, they're not coasting, but they're just riding right now. We'll get back to that story in just a second. Right now, Chris is standing by with Les Lindley.
Oh, Les, you're out of it early. A tough break. Why?
Well, it was Richard Valentine. In practice, we went in and complained about he wouldn't watch what he was doing. He came out of turn 9 down there. It was on the inside of him, and very clear, and all of a sudden he just spun in or whatever and hit me right in the side. The guy's got his head off. He don't know what he's doing out there.
Are there many guys like that on the track?
No, most of them are pretty good. He's a few drivers complain about him. He's going so slow, it's not even funny, but most of the drivers are pretty good.
What about the track?
Track's a little slippery, starting to break up in turn 8 down there. Turn 8 and 9 area is breaking up. But beyond that, it's not too bad. Got to be careful.
Okay, thanks very much, Les.
out on the track, running inside the top 10. So a very efficient pit stop for Kendall. There really was no hot setup in terms of when was the best time to pit. Boy, there was Irv Hare. He was sliding through that corner. He was either Hare or Shashule. They are teammates. But Willie, back to the pit stop question. Everybody had a different philosophy as to when to stop.
You know, that after seeing Tommy come in and take on fuel, now that Irv earlier did it, I think that maybe they're going to mix it up. Maybe some drivers are going to wait late, some drivers are going to wait early. Maybe that if they think they get early gas, the caution flag will help them later on in the race.
Well, there's Kendall there in the orange car. The first blue and white car is Shashule, and the second one is Hare. So that means that Kendall has track space in front of Hare right now. And as Willie pointed out, that blue and orange car and the car you're riding in may be two of the cars that shoot it out for the victory. And right now, Kendall, because of a very slick pit stop, comes out ahead of Irv.
Shashule left the door open for Irv to go at Kendall, and that was great on his teammate. He didn't hold him up. He sent him right after Tommy, and both these cars have already been in the pits. They've made their mandatory petrol stop, so now they're going to run right to the finish. No more stop. Only time they'll slow up is for a caution flag.
Irv Hare takes us across the start-finish line, and just to his left at a much slower speed is Lyn St. James. She comes in and overshoots her pit. Lyn St. James in the Ford Mustang. There you see her. She's just fresh off of competing at Le Mans, where she said she had a terrific time.
You know, I thought I saw a right rear brake rotor on fire for a quick second, Larry.
So maybe the reason why Lyn overshot the pit is because she's got a serious braking problem. Willie, you're right. There are still flames down there.
Yeah, you can see right there how hard this track is on brakes. The drivers have told me that this is the hardest place they've ever been in their life.
Let's repeat again. This is a 12-turn, 1.8-mile course, and not a single corner, I repeat, not a single corner is less than 90 degrees. Chris Economaki is standing by where Lyn is having her problems.
Well, it looks like a right side on the tires, but the engine itself, every time she tries to restart it, clouds of white smoke come out the tailpipe. It may be the end of the day for Lyn St. James.
Lyn's car is up in the air as the crew continues to look at the right rear section of the race car, where we're pretty sure we saw flames coming from brakes, and that'll happen on a street course normally, and when you have temperatures that are 90 and climbing toward 3 digits, it'll really happen.
You better believe it. You know, most of the drivers told me that they're going to be running water brakes here. Water brakes means they're going to have a 5-gallon can of water that every time they touch the brakes, a little bit shoots onto the brakes to keep them cool. But you need a water truck for this track.
And Lyn was one of those people, well, she had 2 switches on her dashboard. One was for additional air cooling to the brakes, which she could flip, and she had one of those water bottles you were talking about. Obviously, still not enough.
No, it's not enough. But, you know, you watch the big dogs here, Chris Neifel. They're being easy now. And Gentilozzi behind him and Schroeder behind him. All of the top 3 guys right now, they're being easy on their brakes.
They're working around Mark Peel sticker right now as we have completed 15 laps of the planned 1 hour and 55-minute race here at Des Moines, Iowa.
A new and exciting innovation in the car washing industry has come to Des Moines, Touchless of Hickman. We at Touchless get your car, truck, or van sparkling clean without ever touching it. Water and detergents are automatically dispensed at precise angles. Our new technology is designed to give you better results while we protect the finish of your vehicle. Our staff is here to help get your vehicle thoroughly clean, quickly and conveniently. We're open 7 days a week to serve you. Try the ultra-modern car wash, Touchless of Hickman, today.
Your Central Iowa Chevy dealers invite you to take a power trip in full-size Chevy pickups that blow away the competition in horsepower, better mileage, more room, more muscle. Move over, Ford. Central Iowa is taking the Chevy power trip. Take a look at Beretta. Better V6 performance than Chrysler LeBaron. More legroom and seating than Toyota Celica. Better mileage than Ford's Tempo or Probe. Take a look at your best sporty compact buy. Beretta from your Central Iowa Chevy dealers.
If you're hankering for high energy, even in Holland, see the Super National Truck and Tractor Bulls, plus Monster Trucks, August 23rd and 24th at the Iowa State Fair.
You're watching Heritage Cable Television.
The Scott, she has thickened. There are a couple of lap cars, or about to be lap cars, Kenny Hendrick and Richard Valentine. There is the leader, the orange and blue, number 03 of Chris Neifel. We've just had a change for second position as Dorsey Schroeder in the red and white Ford Motorcraft car has moved under Gentilozzi. Now Gentilozzi may get him back. Gentilozzi does get Schroeder back. There goes Kenny Hendrick by as he's trying to stay on the lead lap with that man, the leader, Chris Neifel. And now Gentilozzi, after having traded second place with Dorsey Schroeder, is back in that position. And the reason why they are trading is because we believe that Neifel has slowed just a touch.
You know, he might have slowed down. He might be trying to cool his brakes off. He might have eased off of it for a half a lap, and allowed him to close up. But they're back to the same interval again. You know, these guys are really, this is a barn burner of a race for these three guys to be running, and they're really playing chess with each other right now. They're trying not to, they're not leaning on each other. They're just playing strategy. And Chris, you know, you can see he pulled out an interval, so maybe he tried to cool off his brakes a little bit.
There is Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott is currently running in 8th position, having gridded in 28. So Bill Elliott has had a great drive during the first 17 laps here at Des Moines. Now, he is one of those yet to make his pit stop, but Elliott is really showing his stuff, Willie. That is impressive because the guys who run top 10, top 15 in Trans Am, they're stout racers.
Yeah, he's moved into the top 10, and the race is not half over. And Bill Elliott has had less time than anybody here. So right now, he is racing, and he's still feeling his way around, and he's doing it very impressively.
In effect, still learning the racetrack, let alone the race car. Now, back up front, there is Ed Hinchcliffe in that white blue-trimmed Mustang, number 29, about to be lapped for a second time today. And Neifel now seems to have control once again, although here comes Gentilozzi beginning to breathe down his neck.
Gentilozzi is pressuring. He's pressuring. He's pushing him. In fact, they've got a little gap on Schroeder, and the traffic hurt Gentilozzi right there. The lap car hurt him. Neifel pulled out. Now Gentilozzi's got to work his car a little bit harder than Neifel to catch up again.
Although Hinchcliffe, to his credit, he did jerk that car out of the line, out of the racing line, and moved over as he saw the leader.
Oh, he was watching the mirrors. He gave him a big shot.
Gentilozzi, who won the opening round of the Trans Am Series in 1988, has never been able to duplicate that, looking for win number 2, but he's continued to be very competitive in this type of race.
That one race that he won changed his whole life. He realized then, he said, hey, baby, I can win. And he's come here with that attitude. He was on the pole, fastest man all weekend, and now he's in second. But Gentilozzi, you know, when you win a race, you know, you can beat your chest like King Kong. Hey, man, I know how to do this now. And you learn things, you know, and winning is, there's nothing like winning as an incentive.
There is Gentilozzi's teammate over there on the sideline. That is Jerry Clinton in that blue car that was sitting quietly along the left-hand side of the course as the leaders went by. Gentilozzi comes with a 2-car team. Willie was talking about how serious of a racer has become. They are as decked out as any team in Trans Am.
Yeah, and you know, when I saw Clinton's car there, you know, engine temperatures have been running high here in the 290 and 300 region. And that, you know, leads me to believe there's only one reason for it. The straightaways are not long enough for the cars to get cool, you know, to run down large, long straightaways, long sweeping corners where you can get good air into the engine. You're on and off the gas, which is really not, which is going to keep the engine temperatures up high.
The red, white, and blue patriotic Oldsmobile of Scott Sharp is now running in 5th position. Scott Sharp has moved around Irv Hare and the 01 car of Tommy Kendall when they pitted. So it's likely that in the normal course of the race, this guy's around 7th or 8th. But right now, he's feeling real racy, running into the top 5 of a Trans Am race. His rookie season, just 20 years of age.
Well, you know, in the last race, I believe Scott was 5th. So, you know, he's learning quick, and he's finding out how to run a good pace. You know, he's a kid. This guy's not even dry behind the ears yet.
Matter of fact, he's not 9:21, there are a lot of things he can't do in a lot of states at this point. And that's something that somebody like Gentilozzi or Hare can't brag about, isn't it?
Oh, well, they're turning him away at disco. So you know he's getting plenty of sleep.
Yes, indeed. Okay, he is running in 5th position. We have documented the first 4 for you several times. In 6th is Tommy Kendall. 7th is Herb Hare. Elliott is 8th. In 9th is Mike Shashuli. And in 10th is the Australian Tony Brosso Jr. It's a white blue trim number 57, having a great race. And once again, the top 4, there they are. There is Knifel, and they have bright orange and blue number 03. There's Lyn St. James. Finally, agonizing out of the pits, getting back out into the fray after having that brake problem. And now she's going behind the wall. So apparently Lyn senses that they have not solved all their problems. Gentilozzi is 2nd. In 3rd is Dorsey Schroeder. And the 02 of Max Jones, yet to make his pit stop, is riding in 4th.
Well, if they had to do a brake job on Lyn's cars, you know, that put her out of the running, you know. It might be more than just the brake job she needs.
Continues to lead. Gentilozzi hunts him down. Willie, what are your feelings? What's the outside when Shashuli comes to a stop out on course? It appears to be turn number 4. Mike Shashuli running in the top 10. He has become a regular in Trans Am racing. He is a graduate of the American Challenge Series and another one of the racing businessmen. He owns the Maxim Auto Group. His family is involved in that, and Mike has come to a stop, and his day may be over.
You know, Shashuli has been, this is his 2nd year with Irv, and I'll tell you, Irv has taught him a lot. Shashuli has been coming on really strong. You know, you can see consistency get better and better and better.
Well, look at this, Willie. The brand new leader here in the streets of downtown Des Moines is Paul Gentilozzi. As we went back to try and capture what is going on with Mike Shashuli, the man from New Jersey, that man, the red number 7, Paul Gentilozzi, finally has gotten around Knifel, who may be having a phenomenon with his brakes into 2nd. There is Wayne Akers in that blue and white Mustang number 21, and Akers, he's had a great couple of laps, a couple of races rather in Trans Am, as he has raced into the top 15 from deep starting positions. Here's the pass for the lead.
Okay, Gentilozzi found a nice opening. Chris saw him coming. Chris didn't fight him off, and I'll tell you, you know, Chris now is going to follow Gentilozzi. He's going to see, okay, Paul, now you're in the lead. Let's see how hard you can run. You know, as a race driver, when you run into the top 2 and 3, you run 2 different races. You run the race from behind, where you're watching this guy, where he's putting on the brakes, where he's getting on the power, and you know, it's a little bit easier to run a pace like that. But once you get in the lead, then you're the leader. You're the man. So, you know, you have to really concentrate harder to lead than to be in 2nd place, because you want to control the pace. You don't want to overdo your car. So, you know, you watch the guys behind you, just watch them.
Something else to pay attention to here when you run any street race is all the pavement changes. That is a very unique phenomenon to this type of racing, and it's a tricky part of the track to maneuver.
Raceway, sprint car capital of the world and home of the Nationals, brings you another season of exciting racing. Every week you can be part of the action of sprint car racing at Knoxville Raceway. Hot laps begin at 7:30, races start at 8. Be there just for the fun of it, all summer long.
This Saturday's race brought to you by KNIA.
Sharp came in for what we anticipated would be a routine stop for fuel, but once they got the car stopped, the car went up on jacks, and Chris is standing by.
While we were away, 2 key drivers stopped. Dorsey Schroeder made a pit stop for the fuel he needs. The regulations say you must add at least 5 gallons of fuel during the course of the event. He has done that now. His tire check was fine. He did not get any new tires. He went back out, and Scott Sharp has also done the same thing. So they're set for the rest of the day. Back to you, Larry.
Okay, Chris. Also, Bruce Nesmith is in the pits. The green and gray car from Chicago, Illinois. This is the Teflon Industrial Finishes Camaro, and this is what happened to Bruce.
You know, Bruce got a little bit wide. You know, so you can see the marbles on the outside of the track there. And if you get just a foot off line into those marbles, the car does not respond. It will respond right into the tires.
It just draws you in, doesn't it? The car won't turn, it won't stop, it won't do anything except go to that wall.
Yeah, the wall is like a magnet, and there's no way you can get off of it.
You know, this track was patched actually a couple times during this race week, and it began to break up in practice on Friday, but they did some work on it on Friday evening and solved that. And then last night, extensive repairs were performed on the racing surface, and in talking with the SCCA Trans Am officials this morning, they were very pleased, Willie. They said as the street circuit goes, and given all the work that was done on this over the last 3 days, they thought it was going to really hold up well.
Well, they've got right on any little problem that arose. They were right on it and corrected it. They've done a phenomenal job here for this being their first race.
Okay, there's Bob Sobey from Phoenix, Arizona, in that blue and white number 55. Sobey, remember, has lost at least one lap, and now Gentilozzi and Chris Neifel are beginning to consider having yet another face-off with the lead.
Okay, these guys have already felt each other out earlier, so now they're going back and forth. You know, I really believe. Okay, now Chris has just passed Gentilozzi again. So they're going back and forth right now. You know, Chris ease off on his car a little bit and cool it off, take a run at Gentilozzi. Now he's back in the lead. Gentilozzi's going to try the same thing on Chris, I think, a little bit later. Now I saw Gentilozzi's car coming off the corners, and his back end was sliding a little bit more than Neifel. So maybe Gentilozzi's tires have blistered or gotten hot, because Chris is pulling out a cushion pretty quick and pretty easy.
We told you earlier that Neifel has led 13 laps so far this year. Gentilozzi had led 0 laps until this race today, and he is definitely a front runner. Here comes Bill Elliott for his routine pit stop. Let's see how the Jack Roush team handles this as they come out and dump the fuel can into the back of Elliott's car. We anticipate that they are pouring in 5 to maybe 6 gallons of fuel, just enough to get him to the very end of the race. And for Elliott, this has to be a very leisure pit stop. He's used to the hectic moments in a Winston Cup pit. He waits for the crews to signal to him, hey, you're clear, and finally Bill Elliott powers out of pit lane.
If there's anybody that knows how to do pit stop, it's Elliott. You know, that's the law of the land in NASCAR racing. You don't get many pit stops in Trans Am racing. They're normally all sprint races.
Well, Chris Economaki is standing by with Scott Sharp, who was having a great day and apparently ended in the pits.
Scott, what's the story?
Well, I'm not really sure. It's, I guess the suspension bracket, mounting bracket broken. It felt fine, and all of a sudden I went under braking, and the rear end just was going all over the place, so I brought it in, and that's what happened.
Is that the track, or did you have trouble with another car?
No, I don't think it must have been either the bumps or something was wrong with our car.
Tough break. Scott Sharp out of it. Back to you, Larry.
All right, thank you, Chris. Scott entered today's race in 12th position in the point standings in his Pepsi Newman Sharp Olds Cutlass. His best finish of this year was last week at Cleveland when he came home 3rd after a great drive.
Attrition, Larry, is going to be a big factor here. You know, in some parts of this track, not all of it, some parts are pretty rough. I mean, rough enough where you got to use a tractor to go over it. So with these cars, as hard as they're running, you know, it can happen.
We are inside with Irv Hare, twice a winner in 1989, and he is following Tommy Kendall around as he has for about the last 15-20 minutes of this race. They are in 5th and 6th position, having concluded their pit stops. Now, Dorsey Schroeder is being shown in 4th position right now. Max Jones, who has not stopped yet, is 3rd. Gentilozzi, of course, and Chris Neifel are trading and battling whips for 1st position.
Larry, if Irv Hare was a fighter, he'd be a very dangerous man, because he's always trying to put you away with a sleeper punch. And what Irv is doing right now is he's the sleeper. He's just sitting back there. You notice he's not really stabbing the gas real hard. He's rolling on, rolling off, and he's waiting just like Jaws.
Big disappointment for everybody who lives south of the Ohio River. For that matter, maybe most people in the country who follow Winston Cup racing. Bill Elliott comes back into the pits for the 2nd time. He is the defending defending Winston Cup national champion. And we have had a crash in turn number, I think that's 10. And it's not really a crash, it's just the crash wall tires that somebody has clipped off and pulled them away from their mountings, and they are rolling aimlessly around the course.
That looks like the same corner that Nesbitt got into.
It does indeed. Now, Bill Elliott is in the pits. He sits calmly there in the cockpit after having moved to 8th position. Chris is standing by. Chris, any reading on what might be the problem?
Well, it looks like an overheating problem in the back end of the car. We can't see from here, but the smoke and so forth. What might that be back there?
The rear end's leaking. I don't know if it's a seal, a pinion seal or what, or maybe a line loose, but there's something leaking in the rear end.
Oh, there you hear it from one of the crew, man, and it looks like Elliott, it looks like the same thing that was happening to the Lyn St. James car. The smoke is the same and so forth. This is a tough day, well over 100 degrees out here. The track is a lot higher, and Bill Elliott is used to this kind of weather, being from Dawsonville, Georgia. He sits patiently at the wheel, hoping he'll get it fixed.
And he gets a break because we have gone to a full course yellow flag, but it remains to be seen whether or not he'll lose laps in the pits. He's certainly losing a great deal of track distance.
Iowa, the Hawkeye state, blessed with rich and productive soil, with its largest city, Des Moines, at its very heart. Beyond the gates of this new but temporary 1.8-mile street circuit is the state's glittering Capitol Dome, facing westward over the winding Des Moines River to a reborn downtown, long ago having shed its corn and hogs image. Today, Des Moines is a bustling commercial center, prominent as headquarters for many banking, insurance, and publishing entities. Center City is dotted with first-class hotels, like the race headquarters Marriott, packed with visitors for the Grand Prix. The commercial area is crisscrossed with skywalks and offers ample in-city parking, more than most major cities. It's also home to Drake University, site of the famed Drake Relay, and Fort Des Moines, during World War II headquarters of the Women's Army Corps, when it was packed with 18,000 whacks. Then there's Babe's Restaurant, known far and wide as the place in town. For its population of 193,000, there are 394 churches, including St. Ambrose Cathedral, where in 1946 this reporter walked the aisle with a corn-fed, sugar-cured Iowa lass, now a grandmother, anxiously awaiting the outcome of the Ruan Greater Des Moines Grand Prix.
Okay, Chris, and Chris also is very aware that for years and years in the sport of motor racing, this city was known as one of the nuclei of short-track open-wheel dirt racing, the home of the Nationals. They've been running national championships for super-modifieds and sprint cars just down the road at Knoxville, Iowa, about 35 miles, where they ran last night, incidentally, in the heat of midsummer here near Des Moines, Iowa. Now, here is the top 10 at this point after the round of required pit stops. Dorsey Schroeder, the points leader, leads the race. Irv Hare has moved up to second. Tommy Kendall leads two other teammates in Camaro for Neifel, who runs fourth. And, of course, the Berettas of Tommy Kendall are third and fifth, with Max Jones behind the wheel. 6th through 10th is now Jim Durhag, Dick Danielson, Paul Gentilozzi climbing toward the top, Robert Lapalena, despite his problems, and Tony Grosso Jr. continues to hold on to the top 10 position. Now, Chris Economaki has been living through this intense heat here at Des Moines, and he's standing by now.
Well, the organizers here came prepared. As you can see what the temperature is, it's over 110 degrees. Nurses are lining up in pit road here. There are buckets of ice with rags in them, and the nurses come along and take care of we poor folks who have to work in this hot weather with these ice-cold neck pieces. Thank you, my dear. A little of the service you get in Des Moines that you don't get anywhere else. Back to you, Larry.
His duty isn't all bad. Will I have to tell you, yesterday we did the Corvette Challenge race and the race truck challenge, and that same thermometer was down there, and I did a report from down on Pit Road, and it was registering 114 degrees. Now, I've been doing racing on TV for about 10 years and public address for 20-25. It's the single highest temperature I've ever been in. 114 degrees, and that was not on the track, that was on top of the wall.
You know, the unfair part about it is you and I are younger than Chris, and we're up in the air condition, and Chris is down there in the heat.
Indeed we are. Dorsey Schroeder continues to lead here at the Greater Des Moines Grand Prix. He is averaging 66.4 miles per hour. We still got 20 to go. That is what is left of Bruce Nesbitt's car, at least at this juncture of the race. Bruce Nesbitt continues to run around at speed. Certainly is not hurting the performance of the race car. You know, the Trans Am cars have one most unique characteristic that maybe, even though today's a tough day, might help the crews out. In one respect, Trans Am cars are the Winston Cup cars of road racing. The design was originally intended for street use, and now in a highly modified stock car is a purebred racer, but it's designed, of course, for road racing. But there is a big difference. A NASCAR racer is not completely unibody, but for the most part, it's welded together. But Trans Am cars could be called the world's biggest scale models, from front fenders to doors to rear deck to the entire rear assembly. One piece at a time, they'll disassemble. But it's easily reassembled, at least according to the crews. Hey, do you suppose that they always have one piece left over, like I used to? Now, didn't that always happen to you? You'd spend 2 weeks on building a model car, and there was some significant piece, I mean, it looked really important, the bottom of the box when you were done.
I never built them. I let my older brother build them, and I raced them.
Okay, Willie. All right, recapping the leaders. Here we go. We've got approximately 30-35 minutes remaining in this race, or lap number 69, whichever comes first. 39 laps are down, so it looks like we're going after the time limit, and Dorsey Schroeder continues to lead. Herb Hare is second. Tommy Kendall, it runs in third in his Beretta. The 03 you're looking at of Chris Neifel, his Camaro, Cars and Concepts Camaro, is fourth, and Max Jones, the third team member on this Cars and Concepts brightly painted orange and blue cars, runs in fifth. That is Bill Elliott in the white, blue, and red trim number 25 for the 25th anniversary of the Ford Mustang that's running right behind Jones, but Bill lost a couple of laps in the pits during the full course yellow.
Larry, I don't think Bill Elliott right now is worried about winning a race. What Elliott wants to do more than anything is drive, get some miles under his belt. On the brake, shift, downshift, up and down with the gearbox. Learn to drive more road, or learn to get more road track experience. And that's what he wants to do, I think, more than anything here today.
Well, outside of the top 10 right now, running in 11th position is Morris Clement. He's in a car number 95. He races out of the city of Collinsville, Illinois in a Corvette, and he has had a great day after starting in 19th position, and Clement currently rests in 11th. In 12th is the 65 car of Colorado's Bob Zeeb. Zeeb started way back in 25th position. He has had a very competitive day. The number 95, the brightly painted yellow machine of Clement, is that driver we were just talking about, running in 11th position in the Harrison Clement Racing Corvette. And Willie, he really has done well silently. I don't think anybody anticipated him doing this well, but he has moved up from 19th. He runs 11th right now.
You know, and he's another privateer. You know, when you break into top 10 against the big boys in the factory cars, you're doing real well. Oh, we got a problem.
Nesbitt again. Nesbitt has come to a stop in that very tricky corner. Now, Chris Economaki is standing by, and he has some additional comments on Morris.
Well, Morris Clement, it's really an interesting car and driver combination because this is Clement's very first Trans Am outing. He's been a national champion in GT2, but more importantly, this car is different than any other car in the race. It's a Ron Nash built car, and the engine is a stressed member of the car. The front end, the front suspension is hooked onto the engine. It's like a rear-engine Formula One car turned around. It's the only Trans Am car I've ever heard of where the engine serves as a stressed member of the chassis.
Very interesting, Chris. You know, in that piece, we commented that Trans Am cars really are the Winston Cup cars of road racing. That is to say that as you look at them, particularly from afar in a television camera, and we've had a spin, the number 08, the Fiero of Len Moore from Northridge, California, has spun out. Moore has done a reverse spin out of a left-hander, and he's in a pretty dangerous position. There'll definitely be a yellow flag waving, at least in that area. Willie, I'll let you call this.
You can see right underneath, you can see him get a little wide there. Well, as you get out that wide, with the help of Wayne Akers, he got onto the marbles. And once you're on the marbles, around you go.
He's right at an exit point of a corner here on this 1.8-mile course. We're talking about these cars being the Winston Cup cars of road racing. They are cars that are stock in appearance, but inside they're purebred racers. Now, there are a set of rules that are examined and reevaluated every winter, and they're all under this restrictive set of rules, but they are stock in appearing cars, but they're purebred race horses, aren't they?
Well, they're about as much stock as I am Moses. You know, they are race cars. They're built ground up, race engines, race chassis, race tires, and built on a computer to be just that. You know, the body parts are made out of carbon fiber and fiberglass, and there's no way you can call these things stock. I think it's a nice stage name, but other than that, that's it.
Okay. Oh, and the number 03 of Chris Neifel has spun. It appears to be turn number 4. Chris Neifel, who was running in 3rd position, has looped off course. Now he's back under his own power. There is Gentilozzi moving to the field. Willie, here comes Chris.
You can see Chris coming in. His rear brakes lock up. He got in a little bit deep, and his rear brakes locked up. And when your rears lock up, there's nothing you can do. The car's going to come around. And actually, Chris really did a good job because he just spun it around, didn't hit anything, got the front end pointed in the right direction, and he's off again. Chris is not out of it by any means.
He was very lucky that he happened to spin in a corner where there was a runoff space, or he'd have collected some cement.
Well, most of the corners have runoff, and I think Chris is sharp enough to know that he might have overshot the corner. So he says, okay, I know I'm going to overshot it. Let me spin it around to get back going again. But he is no means out of it. You know, he did a quick spin and back at it again. You see Schroeder. He's got a nice lead, and he's got...
Here's a list of the cars, Willie, that are out of the race at this point. Danny May, Les Lindley was involved in contact with Richard Valentine early in the race. Lyn St. James, she was riding with an in-car camera. Mike Shishuli, who had a long day. He's been in and out of the pits and on and off the race course. The veteran Mark Pilsticker, who has one career win in Trans Am racing, and young 20-year-old Scott Sharp, who looked like he was headed for another top 5 finish in his Oldsmobile. He has dropped out. Today, the heat has been oppressive, and it's been a very tough day in Trans Am racing in the category of attrition, as several top drivers have been knocked out of this race. Although Lindley's car was not because of mechanical problems related to the elements, he was just the wrong person in the wrong place at that particular time.
You know, for 31 cars to start this race and only that many out is really, really good. You know, this is a hot track, you know, and now hot on the outside. What Chris Economaki's facing is nothing like what the drivers are facing right now. When these guys get out of this car, they're going to look like worn-out hound dogs.
Dorsey Schroeder in the number 2 Motorcraft Quality Parts Mustang has really asserted himself since the mandatory pit stop. He came out pretty much in tandem with Neifel and with Irv Hare, and while we have been discussing a number of items and trying to keep tabs on Bill Elliott, finding out how strong Gentilozzi is going to be, Dorsey has quietly snuck away, and he appears to have about a quarter of a mile lead over Irv Hare right now.
Okay, look, Larry, you can see the track surface. That's one particular corner. I think that might be turn 8. There was a complaint that turn 8 was breaking up, and the officials here in Des Moines have done a real great job on keeping it under control. But, you know, once you start running all these high horsepower cars on this track, it beats it up like a jackhammer.
And these cars are not lightweights either. You're talking anywhere from 22 to 2,600 pounds, and most of them closer to the 2,600 pound area.
Absolutely, with massive torque. And, you know, when they stand on on the gas, they got kitty grip, boy. They want to rip the bark right off the track.
And they would take bark off the tree if they were running uphill, too, I guarantee you. So the question now becomes, can Dorsey Schroeder hold on as we get to the final stages of this race? Just how strong can Gentilozzi be, the only man with fresh tires? Not nearly as aware as the citizens of Des Moines how much they were anticipating professional road racing. They have turned out in droves this weekend for this competition. They have been extremely hospitable, and all along it's been a very pleasant inaugural race in the streets of downtown Des Moines, the Greater Des Moines Grand Prix.
Everything has been great here, I'll tell you. The people here are awesome, Larry. And when it comes to partying, New York City's got nothing over Des Moines.
It really has been a pleasant weekend, Willie. You're absolutely right. Dorsey Schroeder is just motoring around, and I don't think there's anything talking about not anticipating something happening. In the early stages of the race, it did not appear as though that Schroeder had the opportunity to be the dominant car in this contest, but he has really emerged quietly to that position here in the last 10 minutes.
Dorsey's ran this kind of race at Dallas when he won Dallas this year. Dallas was kind of hot. You know, the weather down in Dallas is tough, and Schroeder just really went at it right, and this is how he wins races.
That is Bob Sobey, who is off. Recall that Sobey had problems earlier in the contest, even though he is one of the 10 fastest cars traditionally in a Trans Am race. He was only ranked in 15th, and he is off for the second time today. So the Phoenix, Arizona driver, who back at that Dallas race that you were talking about, was declared as the driver of the race when he came home in second position, is not going to have a strong finish here in Des Moines today.
If there's been two drivers this year that have really come on, it's been Sobey and Scott Sharp. Both those drivers from last year, I mean, they have come on with capes this year.
And here comes Chris Neifel. This has got to be considered an on-schedule pit stop. Remember that Neifel is the driver who had apparently the brakes lock up as he spun off of turn number 4, made no contact with the outer wall, and got back into the race having lost 2 positions. But Neifel comes to a stop. This may be terminal. They don't look very anxious.
There's not much movement going on. The net just went up, Larry, and I think Chris is coming out.
Well, our Chris Economaki, perhaps can bring us up to date on the Chris Neifel situation, and if he has an opportunity to talk to Neifel, he's going to have to look to the sky because there aren't too many television announcers who are 6'6". That includes our Chris Economaki. Chris, take it away.
Well, the hood is up on the car, and that, of course, is an indication the trouble is serious. Neifel is dripping wet. They've just poured water inside of his helmet, and whatever the problem is, it's mechanical, and there doesn't seem to be any urgency to the repair system, so I think perhaps Neifel has had it for the day. A tough break. He went out early. Yes, he's taking the steering wheel off. We'll have a word with him in just a moment as he gets out of the car here. We'll try and get it right from the driver, the big, tall 6-footer from Chicago. He's a very altruistic person. He's from a moneyed family, and for several years, all of the prize money that he earned driving was donated to charities in the town where the race was held. A very wonderful gesture on the part of basketball player and racing driver Chris Neifel. Here he comes out of the car now. As you can see how big he is. Are you as hot as I am?
I think so. There's no cool suit today, so it's a little extra hot, and it's unfortunate the ICI Camaro just ran great.
Well, what I see him looking under the hood, Chris. You got any idea what the big problem is?
Well, he has kind of a pair.
Take your helmet off. We'll get a look at you.
Yeah. It's a little oil leak, but the main problem is brakes. Totally went away due to the heat.
Did a great job taking the early lead. Better luck next time.
Oh, thanks so much, Chris.
Okie doke. Chris Neifel out of it.
There's Wayne Akers. He has skidded off course as the heat and the marbles on the racetrack and probably a little bit of driver fatigue begins to show here.
And as Chris mentioned, brakes. Brakes was the key coming into this race here this weekend, Larry. And I'll tell you, Chris, I know what he's going through. He probably used up every ounce of water he had on his water brakes, and that was it. And he wasn't really trying to lead. He wasn't trying to smoke everybody. He was just running a conservative race. So I still think with around 20 laps to go in this race, brakes is still the key. Schroeder he's running well. And evidently the way he's coming in and out of the corners, he's not suffering. The car is not hurting, so he's setting a type of pace now that is going to be hard to beat.
Willie, you know, in a normal race with conditions maybe between 65 and 75, the way you drive the race car, as we look at the 89 results of Dorsey Schroeder, you can see he's had a first and a second. The way you drive the race car can help save it, but with conditions that are so intense today, I got a feeling that it's just a matter of luck whether or not your car and your brakes go away.
Oh, in auto racing, luck plays a big game, but you know, Dan Gurney would tell you, you can make your own luck in auto racing just by how hard you work. And Schroeder's team works real hard, and they've done a great job.
We are going to go to a full course yellow. Perhaps it's because of the Wayne Akers incident. And by the way, Willie brings up Dan Gurney. That is your primary employer of this year, running in the GTP classification, the Grand Touring Prototype cars of the International Motorsports Association. That's Willie's normal job. He's just helping us out this weekend here in Des Moines. Now, the big question about this full course yellow, Willie, as you can see, Dorsey Schroeder continues to lead. He and Irv Hare, who run first and second, they're not going to pit again. They've already accomplished what they needed to do. Paul Gentilozzi was 52 seconds back. He had actually slipped to 54 seconds back. The new tires were not making him go appreciably faster as we anticipated. If it's going to help anybody, this full course yellow could help him.
Yeah, if Gentilozzi's car is working good. Now, if he didn't close up a little bit with those new tires, then he might be having another problem.
Possibly so. So Gentilozzi's day may be long after all. We thought he had employed very crafty strategy.
But you know, this caution does not hurt Dorsey, because this is going to cool off Dorsey's brakes. His tires are going to cool. This is going to help Irv. This caution helps everybody, because they can sit around, they can get a drink of water inside the car, they can rethink and reanalyze what they were doing earlier, and get back with it.
Chris Economaki is standing by someone who gave us some pretty good pictures until she dropped out. And if it's a she, it's got to be Lyn St. James. Chris?
We want to thank you for the great pictures you gave us at the top of the show, Lyn. But what was all that white smoke coming out of your car?
Well, it was actually smoke coming from the rear brakes. The rear seals went on the rear brakes on the right side, and it caught on fire because all the fluid just poured right out. And we had a little fire back there, I guess, but the caliper broke and I had no rear brakes at all.
Could you feel it at the wheel that it was on fire?
No, I didn't know it was on fire, and I didn't want to get out of the car because I thought, hey, I'll just crank all the front brakes in and we'll shut the rears off and get rid of all the fluid and still go.
It's been tough on equipment here today, tougher than we even thought. Why do you think that is?
Well, the heat is a big factor, and the track is so tight. You know, these cars were designed to go fast, and we can't go fast out there. So it's like holding a thoroughbred back, you know, holding the reins back, and eventually all the, you know, everything, you just use them up.
What about the brakes? How hard is this race on brakes?
Well, it's the hardest track I think we have on brakes. It reminds me of the first Miami in a way, the Miami Grand Prix, where it's really hard on brakes. We were taking it easy on them. I mean, and even with taking it easy, it still used them up.
Well, better luck next time.
Thanks.
49 laps are now completed. We are inside of 1/2 hour remaining in the race. You know, it's a tradition in motor racing to start your kids out young, but the Unsers, the Andrettis, and the Parnelli Jones, they don't have anything over these folks. Just watch.
All sports try to generate fan following at a young age. None, however, goes to the lengths auto racing does. The Pampers Prix was one of the more interesting sidelights of the Des Moines race weekend. Fans of the future race in the face of huge odds, prickly heat, diaper rash, and over-enthusiastic parents. Merchandise prizes, disposable diapers, made them professionals at an early age, yet they seem to sense the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Spectator interest, however, was equally divided between the handlers and the racers, but the sideline coaching and enthusiasm did not transfer to the contestants. But for one mother, Pampers Prix 1989 will long be remembered.
Willie, in all my years of racing, I don't think I have ever seen such immature losers. We'll be back at the Ruan Grand Prix of Des Moines after these words. Today's Ruan Greater Des Moines Grand Prix through the streets of downtown Des Moines has featured the Trans Am cars of the Sports Car Club of America. Today's race has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil, The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by the Principal Financial Group, financial products that give you an edge. And by Pirelli Tires, original equipment on the world's finest automobiles. Still under a full course yellow, although the starter has signaled the field to be ready to go the next time around. In the meantime, next Thursday night, as usual, Thursday Thunder. If everything that I hear from the fans around the country is accurate, it doesn't really need too much more introduction. Thursday Thunder follows Speed Week. Speed Week, of course, takes place at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that is followed by Thursday Thunder, the USAC Midgets, live at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The Thursday Thunder, of course, taking place at the Indianapolis Raceway Park in Indianapolis, Indiana.
We got plenty of thunder here, Larry. All we need is some lightning.
Yeah, we do. I just wonder how Gentilozzi is going to do. I mean, he's got those fresh tires. There he is in that red car. He's about 5 or 6, I'll make that, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7. He is 7 cars behind the leader, Dorsey Schroeder. You think he's got a chance?
Well, there's enough time left, but, you know, it all depends how strong Schroeder is. You know, if he's strong, then can't make a dent on him, then, and the green flag has just dropped, and you can see the jump Dorsey got, but he's really charged in that corner hard.
I think he surprised himself as he squirmed a little bit going into turn number 1. He's probably saying to himself, now Schroeder, calm yourself down. If I just stay here and don't make any mistakes, I'll win this one, but I can't make any moves like that too many times.
Well, he's got to remind himself that his tires cooled off. So now, hey, look, don't run in, don't use your same braking point until I get back into my rhythm again.
Now, speaking of cooling off, here's Chris Economac.
Well, we're down here with one of the fire crews. This man is equipped with rubber boots, double thickness in case of a fire. Fortunately, we haven't had any yet. You're with the West Des Moines Fire Department. You get double pay for Sunday work?
Yeah, you might say that we're volunteers, so twice nothing's nothing, so.
Twice nothing's nothing. Look at the outfit. How much weight you going to lose today?
None. My employer was real good working with me, and I was able to trade shifts and get off the race.
How about that? This guy deserves a pat on the back. One of the many volunteers involved in this race.
Back to Des Moines, Iowa, which we are told has the largest number of auto racing magazine readers per capita of any city in the country. I know that one time, about 10, 15 years ago, Willie, this state was in the top 3 or 4, might even been the leader of the largest number of race tracks. Of course, they were mostly all half-mile and third-mile dirt ovals, but this has long been a racing popular state. We're now back with Irv Hare, runs second place, and he's trying to cut into the lead of Dorsey Schroeder, but I don't think he's got enough tonight.
Yeah, he's trying to measure Dorsey right now, and Irv is not trying, you know, Irv, like I said, is Mr. Smooth, Mr. Consistent, and he's going to sit right in there and run as hard as he can.
Oh, Willie, it's Gentilozzi. Paul Gentilozzi has stopped on course. We had a report that he had hit the wall. Apparently, he was trying to hustle at the restart to try and gain ground. Let's follow him around, Willie.
Yeah, he got in. He went up underneath Richard Valentine and went in a little bit hot. His tires still might have been cool, and, you know, they got a little bit wide on the marbles. And once you're on the marbles, you have no chance.
Paul Gentilozzi, what a major disappointment. He appeared to have the superior race car in terms of speed this day at Des Moines, Iowa. Being the last one to make the pit stop, maybe in retrospect that was not the wisest move, but at the time it seemed like a very clever time. That is turn 6 that Gentilozzi has crashed out of. It is the 3rd time this year that Paul Gentilozzi, as we look at Dorsey Schroeder, has crashed out of a race. Now, the X marks turn 6 where Gentilozzi crashed out. He had actually just made the turn, and he was making the left-hander, and he came out underneath that pedestrian bridge and smack.
Well, Paul knew that, look, I don't have much time in this race left, and I got to start getting by the lap cars as fast as I can. And, you know, it happened right at the beginning. His tires probably weren't up to temperature, and he went in just a little bit hard.
Willie, listen to this next report. We have picked up off the scanner radios that Dorsey Schroeder is getting so fatigued that he is even even having difficulty talking on the radio to the crews. He is trying to focus his concentration on driving, and it takes so much energy at this point of this long race on a very hot day to do that, that he's having trouble being able to shift his focus and divide it between concentrating on the road and talking.
Larry, Dorsey is from St. Louis. There's two tough guys from St. Louis, Rusty Wallace and him. He's got his he's leading the race. He's tired, he's fatigued, but when you're leading, I mean, the adrenaline is pumping, and you gotta come up and rise up to the occasion, and he's able to do it.
Let's go inside with Irv Hare and see if Irv Hare can visually cut into the lead of Dorsey Schroeder. Hare is running in second.
Irv has got the bit in between his teeth down. Now, if he's got a frequency where he could pick up Dorsey's frequency and maybe know that he's getting tired, Irv will run a little harder. A lot of these drivers, they listen in with each other. The crew chiefs know what each other's team are doing. So Irv, if he knows that, Irv is going to pick it up and try to put some pressure on him, like a fighter when he's got a guy tired up against the rope. He's going to pressure him.
Heading down the fifth of the, make that the fourth of the 5 straightaways here that make up this 1.8-mile, 12-turn course. This is the longest one, running along what is known as 2nd Avenue. Schroeder goes up to the 5th gear, and Irv Hare tries to keep the pace. They go into the hard left-hander. Now you'll be heading up toward the pits and the start-finish line. There it is, the main straightaway. Irv Hare continues to run second. Now, there is Jim Durhog in that white, blue, and black trim car number 40. And Jim Durhog has done what Jim Durhog always does, Willie. He's running in 5th position. Jim Durhog could start 3 laps down, and he'd finish in the top 5.
In Trans Am, they call him the Hog.
Affectionately.
He's a tough race driver. Durhog doesn't always qualify well, but when it comes to racing, he always comes up and races hard. And the guy's got tremendous stamina. He will race, and he's from Minnesota, and that ain't Mojave. So, he's doing real well in this heat.
This is the Sign Art Camaro. As Willie mentioned, the driver and team are from Minnesota. Durhog is the all-time leader in Trans Am starts. He has started more of these races than anyone else. He had a 3rd place at his home racetrack at Brainerd in 1988. That was his best performance. And as Willie also mentioned, Jim came from the short track ovals. He ran late models in the 1972 to 1979-80 area, running ASA and Wisconsin short track, racing against stars like Dick Trickle, Larry Degens, and Joe Shear. And he stumbled upon Trans Am racing. He found it economically beneficial for him, and he stayed with it, and he has really made the most out of it. This is his career. Trans Am racing is what this man does for a living.
I think he has started more races than any driver in history of this championship. You can see him, he's working real hard. And in fact, he's worked so hard to come up that his tires are starting to slip around a little bit because he's really fighting the car.
14 minutes remain in the race. It's officially been determined that this race will be determined by the clock and not the number of laps. So 14 minutes remain for Schroeder, and if it takes 1.5 minutes to go around, well, you figure out the math. It's something around 8 or 9 more laps, I suppose.
Larry, Dorsey's crew chief is talking to him. He's telling him, Dorsey, stay up, man. There's 14 minutes left. He's his corner man. His crew chief is his corner man. He's keeping him pumped. He's keeping his concentration. Don't fall off, man. This is it. We're here. Keep running. It's not long. And he'll talk him right to the finish line. Dan Gurney's great for doing that. He'll talk you right home.
If Dorsey Schroeder can come home first, it will be a very nice blow for Ford in the Manufacturers Championship. They came into the race ranked 3rd with 22 points, 4 points behind Oldsmobile. You're in Irv Hare's Oldsmobile right now. Up front is one of the Cars and Concepts machines. So Irv Hare, although he is running second, is getting ready to put a lap on a very competitive car. Chevrolet leads the manufacturer point standings. They are 36 points or 14 points ahead of Ford, and only the highest finishing car of every manufacturer gets points. So Ford had begun to slip behind, and if Dorsey can come home first today, they'll be very happy because that'll put them right back in the race.
And he is pulling away. Irv, you can see, in the beginning, you could see Dorsey in the camera. Well, now Dorsey's gone. And he pulled out a cushion, and he's running hard, Larry, to keep his concentration up. If you start to slack off a little bit, you can lose your concentration and make mistakes. So I think Dorsey is going to run a pace that's going to keep his concentration sharp.
You know, something else that if you're very clever, you can watch the taillights on a street course or a road course, and if they stay on an inordinately long amount of time, that'll tell you something. If they just flash on and off, normally that means the car is probably still performing pretty well.
Right. Well, you know, he's not dragging the car. You know, he's not sliding around. A couple times he got a little bit loose coming off the corner, but I think those are the corners with marbles on it. But Dorsey is really running. He's tired, but he's tough, and he's got something in his teeth.
Well, with Lee White, who is one of the prominent employees of Jack Roush, is Chris Economaki.
Hi, Lee. What kind of shape is your driver?
Well, I think right now we're more concerned about the driver than we are the car, Chris. The car seems to be running along real fine, the Motorcraft Ford. But Dorsey's having a little trouble talking to us on the radio, so we're worried that he's really dehydrated and in bad shape. We're just, you know, we're trying to talk to him every time he goes by and cheer him up a little bit and just praying he can hang on.
You don't have anybody else you're thinking about putting in the car?
It's a little too late for that now, Chris. We're going for a win.
Okay, there you have it. The driver is so tired he can't even talk on the radio.
You know, Willie, we're not overstating it. It's tense because it is very unpleasant here in Des Moines this weekend as far as the weather goes. And it's hard work in any aspect of the motorsport. And this is just not play, and it's just not something to hype the race. Right now, Dorsey Schroeder may not be challenged by any other car and driver on the racetrack, but he may be running the toughest race of his career up to this point. 31 cars started the SCCA Trans Am race here at Des Moines, Iowa today, and 14, just about one car for every tick of the thermometer above 100 degrees, the temperature is, have dropped out. Dorsey Schroeder leads. Tommy Kendall and his Beretta is second. Irv Hare, the Oldsmobile, is third. Max Jones is fourth, and Jim Durhag in his Camaro is fifth. When we were inside of Irv Hare's car, I told you that was a Camaro up in front. We thought that perhaps it was Max Jones going one lap down. It was Tommy Kendall who had gotten around Irv Hare. So a change there in the standings for second position. It's Tommy Kendall. Now, here is 6th through 10th. Dick Danielson, the man from Wisconsin, has had a great day after starting in 11th position. He has moved his Danielson Racing Cutlass Supreme into 6th. Robert Lapalainen has persevered. He is in 7th. Tony Brosso Jr. has been showing in the top 10 all afternoon. The man from Australia is 8th. Morris Clement, the car that Chris profiled for you earlier, one of the most unique cars running in today's race, is 9th. And Bob Zeeb, one of his best Trans Am performances, maybe his best ever, is in 10th position as 17 cars continue on course.
Right now, Larry, Dorsey's got a big challenge on his hands, and that challenge is himself. You know, a race driver at this point, you challenge yourself. You tell yourself, all right, man, what am I made out of? And you challenge yourself, and this is where he is now. He knows he's tired. He knows that they're going to have to pull him out of the car. But the objective is, okay, don't make any mistakes.
Here is second place. Make that third place, Irv Hare. I thought perhaps he was racing with Tommy Kendall, but Hare obviously has slowed a bit from his pace earlier. There's Bill Elliott in the background, and Max Jones in the second Cars and Concepts team car goes around Irv Hare. Irv Hare, who looked for a couple of laps in this race like maybe he was going to go for the win, has dropped from 2nd to 4th now in the last 3 laps.
Larry, Irv might be having a little bit of problem. His car, in fact, it sounds like he's lost the gear. It sounds like he's lost the lower gear because it's not pulling hard off the slower corners. In fact, it's pulling very sluggish. So Irv might have lost one of his lower gears, and he can't get off the corner real good. And you can see Max Jones has caught him and passed him.
And most of the corners, because they are 90 degrees here, are second gear turns, and only occasionally, as you traverse the 1.8 miles, do you get up to third and fourth gear, and only twice up to fifth gear. And if you don't have a good lap, sometimes you don't even get up to fifth gear twice. It's only once.
Right. He's using that gear so much that if he lost it, then he's got to use a higher gear, and therefore it's going to be much more sluggish coming off the corner.
So Irv Hare, who has won twice earlier this season, he's the only driver who has won twice, although if Dorsey Schroeder wins today, it will be his second victory. Schroeder came in as the leader of the points, but only by one marker over Tommy Kendall of Glendale, California, who was second. Irv Hare was third in points with 50. Mike Shashula, who dropped out of this race early, was fourth, and Robert Lapalainen was fifth. So Schroeder, if the race were to finish on the next lap, will hold on to the lead, and Kendall will hold on to second place in the point standings.
Both Tommy and Max have drove in a real smart race. I mean, they stayed in it. They didn't get in there and overrun their car. They didn't overextend themselves, and now they're right in the top three.
When I say that Chris Economaki has been doing some intrepid reporting, believe me, the conditions are not pleasant. Chris, it has been brave reporting, and perhaps you have some more on the Irv Hare situation for us.
Well, the crew down here in his pit tells us that the transmission is giving problems. They agree. And as Willie says, it's probably one of the gears out. They're sort of gathering up their equipment here, coiling the hoses, and it looks like they're getting ready to go home early, even though Irv is still out there running around well.
Okay, Willie, excellent call. We're down to about 5 minutes to go. We anticipate that being 3 laps, and you see the number 49 car, Frank Herchik. He sticks his left hand out the window and says to Max Jones, hey, I know you're one of the leaders, and you go by on the inside. That's where I'm going to move over and let you go.
Okay, well, you know, that's real courteous. You know, when you know you're not on the pace and you see the faster drivers coming, to give them room and let them keep racing, even though they're worn out too. They are tired, and they're racing for position and points for the championship.
The second white car on your screen there, that is Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia. Bill raced from 28th starting position and actually had a high water mark of 7th in today's race, but he had car trouble about midway through, and he ended up losing 8 laps to the leaders and now runs in 14th position. But Elliott has had a very competitive day in terms of speed, but not a very successful day in terms of his finish. Bill, of course, is really accustomed to finishing in the top 5 of a motor car race.
Well, for him to come here and race on race day, no practice, no qualifying, no nothing, is exceptional. You know, a lot of drivers wouldn't do it without the time behind the wheel. Well, he came here, and Bill's tough, man. He's awesome from Dawson.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? His first laps on the course this morning, right after dawn, were in a pickup truck, and guess who was driving? Dorsey Schroeder. So it's pretty obvious that he was getting pointers from the right man, because Schroeder is shown that he knows how to get around this track today.
You know, Schroeder, they haven't been following him lately, but, you know, evidently he's not. Well, there he is. You know, it doesn't look like he's challenging. There's not much to go. You know, he doesn't have much time. And I know Lee White is telling him, look, hold on, man. Put that water hose in your mouth that's in the car, man, and bite it.
Willie, the point to be made is, and I think you brought this up earlier in the broadcast, that Dorsey is one of the more physically fit drivers in Trans Am. And if Dorsey is whipped, everybody is, I guarantee you. I'm very impressed with Durhag. I mean, he is up there to 5th position again already, and it just seems like, as you pointed out, the guy is a bulldog. He just will not give up, and he seems to be able to maintain a steady pace no matter how long or how oppressive the race is.
This is one of the great races I've seen Jim drive. You know, I've raced against Jim many times, and I'll tell you, Jim, when he puts his head down, he goes to work.
You know, it was back in 1983 that he first finished in the top 10 of Trans Am points, and there may have been 1 or 2 years there in the interim that he missed, but basically since 83 he has been a fixture. This guy is part of the, when you get the guide at the beginning of the season, you know, you see the cover. I mean, Durhag's got a piece of that.
And he's done it out of his own pocket. You know, I'd like to see Jim Durhag with big money factory backing, you know.
It would would be interesting. Here is Dick Danielson. Dick has had a similarly successful day, as has Jim Durhog. Danielson, who has moved from IMSA Sedan Racing, began this race in 11th position. He's from Heartland, Wisconsin, which is not one of the normal places where a Trans Am driver would come from historically, although they now come from all over the country. This is another family operation. I mean, this is Dick Daniels' operation, although he has hooked up with the Hendricks from Chino, California this year, and they travel around the country with him together. But his Cutlass Supreme has had a very good day.
And he's charging, too. He's charging after Durhog.
Back up front, Dorsey Schroeder, agonizing, trying to just tough it out to get around this course. We are now told he has one final lap to go. Dorsey Schroeder works his way through turn 3, turn 4. He'll make another right-hander up here. It's turn number 5, and then the turn number 6. This is a small box that actually interrupts one of the 5 straightaways on this track. Now, after he makes this right-hander, he makes basically a squared-off S and then heads for the second straightaway on this course. He's running along a street called Locust Street. He actually is headed across the river now, and after this Locust Street straightaway, he makes a couple of turns. He goes back across the river one more time, and at that point, he's about halfway around the course.
You know, he's got a 20-second lead. He knows what kind of lead he's got, and he tells himself, all right, man, just be cool. You know, I can cruise home. Nobody's going to catch me. All I have to do is cruise it and win the race. And that's what he's telling himself right now. He's really pumped now. In fact, he might not can talk, but he might be thinking up his victory speech.
Okay. There is Dorsey. He's on straightaway number 3. And there is a fight for 5th position. That's Jim Durhog and Dick Danielson. And I'll tell you, visually, Danielson looked a little more fresh a couple of laps ago. Durhog trying to protect his position. Jim Durhog and Dick Danielson with almost a full lap to go. This will be a struggle, a strife for 5th position. Danielson breathing down the back of Jim Durhog. Here comes the leader and the winner coming up pit straight. Dorsey Schroeder almost coast across the finish line. We'll try and follow that battle for you for 5th position as Schroeder wins his second Trans Am race of 1989 and immediately gets out of the throttle.
You know, a little earlier, I saw Danielson catching Durhog. Durhog's car seemed to be sliding around.
And Danielson and Durhog come together. They have spun. Now both of the cars are still running. Danielson pointed in the right direction. He gets past, slides in front of Durhog. Durhog trying to find first gear forward. He revs the engine, and Jim Durhog can't get going. Now he gets going. He's got to back up. He does not have enough room to turn around. Here's the replay of the incident.
Okay, you can see that Danielson is taking a run at Durhog, and Durhog's protecting his line. They're both going for the same corner at the same time, and there's only room for one.
Danielson gets on the brake very suddenly, and it kept it from being a more serious incident than it was, and Durhog just can't get turned around. Now, there were only 6 or 7 cars on the lead lap, so if Durhog could get going, possibly he could still finish in the top 6 or 7. But Dorsey Schroeder comes home the winner the second time in 1989 he's done so. His teammate in the bright Beretta, Irv Hare, comes home 4th in his Oldsmobile, and Dick Danielson in his Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme was 5th. 6th through 10th unofficially at this point were Jim Durhog, and we assume that Durhog is going to be credited with 6th position. Robert Lapalainen from Finland was 7th. Tony Broso from the land down under, Australia, was 8th. Morris Clement, in a great drive, finished 9th, and 65, Bob Zeeb, was in 10th. Now, the rest of the spectacles on ESPN this afternoon between 4 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Swamp Buggy Spectacular, the Corvette Challenge, and the Muscle Magazine. That's coming up later this afternoon. So Dorsey Schroeder comes home first for the second time in 1989 in a SCCA Trans Am race. It was a very hot day, and the drivers are to be commended, as well as all the fans who showed up here in the streets of downtown Des Moines for today's Trans Am race. For Chris Economaki, who worked the pits, and Willie T. Ribbs, who helped me out here in the booth, this is Larry Newber saying so long to everyone. Stay tuned to ESPN for all the latest and all the wide world of sports that are in the United States of America.
Welcome to the Sports Page Restaurant, a winning team featuring fine food and 24-hour family dining. Our delicious salad and fruit bar is a meal in itself or complements our tasty entrees. And you'll savor